The arrival. The docking bay of the interstellar cruiser Nebula Voyager hummed with anticipation as Captain Zix, a towering blue-skinned alien with 4 arms and bioluminescent patches, paced back and forth. His antenna twitched nervously, picking up the subtle vibrations of his crew's excitement and apprehension. "Remind me again why we're hiring a human janitor?" asked First Officer Vreen, her scales shimmering with a mix of curiosity and concern. Captain Zix's mandibles clicked thoughtfully before he responded. "The Galactic Council suggested we incorporate more species diversity on our long-range missions. Apparently, humans have a unique approach to cleanliness that could benefit our operations." As if on cue, a small transport shuttle docked with a gentle thud. The airlock hissed open, revealing a surprisingly ordinary-looking human man. He was of average height and build, with a mop of unruly brown hair and a wide, eager grin plastered across his face. In one hand, he clutched a duffel bag. In the other, he held what appeared to be an ancient Earth-made toolbox. "Howdy, folks," the human exclaimed, stepping onto the deck with a spring in his step. "The name's Jack Thompson, your new janitor extraordinaire, ready to make this ship sparkle like a supernova." Captain Zix and First Officer Vreen exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of bemusement and uncertainty. The captain extended one of his forehands in greeting. "Welcome aboard the Nebula Voyager, Mr. Thompson. I am Captain Zix, and this is my First Officer, Vreen." Jack's eyes widened as he took in the alien crew members, but his smile never faltered. He grasped the captain's hand enthusiastically, pumping it up and down. "Pleasure to meet you both. And please, call me Jack. Mr. Thompson was my dad, and he never could keep a bathroom clean to save his life." Vreen's scales rippled with amusement despite her initial reservations. "Well, Jack, let me show you to your quarters. We can begin your orientation once you've settled in." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Jack's head swiveled left and right, taking in every detail with unbridled enthusiasm. The Nebula Voyager was a marvel of alien engineering, with sleek, organic curves and pulsating bioluminescent conduits that seemed to breathe with life. "This is amazing," Jack exclaimed, nearly tripping over his own feet as he tried to look everywhere at once. "I've never seen anything so alive. How do you keep it all clean?" Vreen's antenna twitched in confusion. "Clean. The ship's biosystems naturally process and eliminate waste. We've never needed extensive cleaning protocols." Jack's eyebrows shot up. "Never needed cleaning. Oh boy, have I got my work cut out for me. Don't worry, though. By the time I'm done, this ship will be so clean you could eat off the floors. Not that you'd want to, of course. That's just unsanitary." They arrived at a small cabin that would serve as Jack's quarters for the duration of his contract. It was sparse by human standards but functional, with a sleep pod, a personal data terminal, and a small storage unit. "This is perfect," Jack declared, tossing his duffel bag onto the sleep pod. He immediately began unpacking, pulling out an assortment of cleaning supplies that Vreen had never seen before. "So, when do I start? I'm itching to get my hands on those bioconduits. Bet they'd shine up real nice with a bit of elbow grease." Vreen's scales flickered with a pattern that, had Jack been able to interpret it, would have signaled mild alarm. "Perhaps we should complete your orientation first, Jack. There are many systems on this ship that require careful handling." "Oh, sure," Jack nodded, still rummaging through his supplies. "Safety first. That's what I always say. But between you and me, I've never met a stain I couldn't tackle. Even got a commendation from the mayor back home for cleaning up the aftermath of the Great Spaghetti Incident of 2085. Now that was a mess." As Vreen led Jack back to the bridge for his official introduction to the crew, news of the humans' arrival spread quickly through the ship. Crew members peeked out of doorways and gathered in small groups, whispering excitedly about their new addition. On the bridge, Captain Zix stood before his assembled senior staff. Beside him, looking comically small in comparison, stood Jack, still grinning from ear to ear. crew of the Nebula Voyager, Zix began, his voice resonating with authority. As part of our ongoing commitment to interspecies cooperation, we have welcomed aboard our first human crew member. This is Jack Thompson, who will be serving as our ship's janitor. A murmur rippled through the gathered aliens. The concept of a dedicated cleaning professional was foreign to many of them, their own species having evolved beyond the need for such tasks. Jack stepped forward, waving enthusiastically. "Hi, everyone. I just want to say how excited I am to be here. I know we might have different ideas about cleanliness, but I promise you, by the time I'm done, this ship will be the envy of the galaxy." The ship's chief engineer, a gelatinous being named Blob, a name Jack found hilarious, but tried not to show it, oozed forward. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson, but our ship's systems are highly advanced and self-regulating. What exactly do you intend to clean?" Jack's eyes lit up at the question. "Oh, you'd be surprised, my jiggly friend. Dust can accumulate in the most unexpected places, even in space, and don't get me started on the importance of proper disinfection protocols. Did you know that the average humanoid sheds millions of dead skin cells every day? In an enclosed environment like this, that can lead to all sorts of interesting bacterial growth." The crew collectively recoiled at this information, some even producing sounds that might have been the alien equivalent of gagging. Captain Zix quickly intervened. "Thank you, Jack. I'm sure we'll all benefit from your expertise. For now, why don't you familiarize yourself with the ship's layout? First Officer Vreen will provide you with the necessary access codes and safety protocols." As the crew dispersed, still buzzing with conversation about their new human colleague, Jack approached Captain Zix. "Captain, I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity. I promise I won't let you down. In fact, I've got some great ideas already. Have you ever considered the benefits of lemon-scented disinfectant in the air filtration system?" Captain Zix's antenna drooped slightly, a sign of weariness that was lost on Jack. "Perhaps we should start with the basics, Mr. Thompson. Vreen will show you to the maintenance bays. Please, try not to make any adjustments without consulting us first." "You got it, Captain." Jack saluted enthusiastically, nearly poking himself in the eye in the process. "I'll have this ship in tip-top shape in no time. Just you wait and see." As Jack bounded off after Vreen, his toolbox clanking merrily at his side, Captain Zix couldn't shake the feeling that life aboard the Nebula Voyager was about to become far more interesting and possibly far more chaotic than he had ever anticipated. Little did the crew know that Jack Thompson, with his unorthodox cleaning methods and irrepressible human spirit, would soon turn their orderly world upside down, leading them on an adventure that would challenge their perceptions, test their patience, and ultimately bring them closer together as a crew. The Nebula Voyager sailed on through the cosmic expanse, blissfully unaware of the whirlwind of change that was about to sweep through its gleaming corridors, all in the name of cleanliness. Cleaning chaos. The next morning cycle aboard the Nebula Voyager dawned with an eerie quiet. Captain Zix emerged from his regeneration pod, his antennae twitching at the unusual silence. Typically, the ship hummed with the gentle buzz of its biosystems, but today, something was different. As he made his way to the bridge, a peculiar scent wafted through the air. It was sharp, astringent, and completely foreign to his olfactory sensors. The captain's pace quickened, a sense of unease growing with each step. The bridge doors slid open, revealing a scene of unexpected transformation. Every surface gleamed with an unnatural shine. The control panels, usually a matte finish to reduce glare, now reflected the starlight streaming through the viewports like miniature mirrors. "What in the name of the Galactic Council?" Captain Zix muttered, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in disbelief. First Officer Vreen burst onto the bridge, her scales a chaotic swirl of colors indicating extreme agitation. "Captain, you won't believe what's happened." The human, he's. "Morning, Captain." Officer Vreen. Jack's cheerful voice rang out as he popped up from behind a console, a spray bottle in one hand and a rag in the other. "What do you think? I've been up all night giving the old girl a proper shine." Captain Zix's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of growing stress. "Mr. Thompson, what exactly have you done to my bridge?" Jack beamed, oblivious to the captain's distress. "Oh, just a bit of elbow grease and my secret weapon. Good old-fashioned lemon-scented all-purpose cleaner. You wouldn't believe the gunk that builds up on these control panels. But don't worry, I got it all." Vreen approached one of the newly polished consoles, her tendrils hovering hesitantly over the surface. "Jack, our systems are calibrated for specific tactile feedback. This level of cleanliness might interfere with our ability to operate the ship effectively." Jack's smile faltered for a moment before bouncing back. "Oh, I'm sure you'll get used to it in no time. Besides, think of all the germs I've eliminated. Did you know that the average control panel can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat?" The captain and first officer exchanged alarmed glances, their alien physiologies not quite equipped to handle this particular brand of human trivia. Before they could respond, the ship's chief engineer, Blob, oozed onto the bridge, leaving a trail of distressed bubbles in his wake. "Captain, the maintenance bays, the engine room, they've been cleaned." Jack perked up. "Oh yeah, I got to those last night too. You wouldn't believe the state of those quantum flux capacitors. But don't worry, I gave them a good scrubbing. They're running smoother than ever now." Blob's gelatinous form rippled with what could only be described as panic. But the quantum residue is essential for maintaining the delicate balance of our warp drive. You can't just clean it away." Jack's brow furrowed in confusion. "Residue? Sounds like a fancy word for dirt to me. And where there's dirt, there's room for improvement." He held up his spray bottle proudly. "Nothing a little bit of my special formula can't handle." Captain Zix raised all four of his hands in a placating gesture. "Mr. Thompson, while we appreciate your enthusiasm, I think it's time we had a discussion about the unique nature of our ship's systems." But Jack was already moving on to his next target, eyeing the ship's central computer core with a gleam in his eye that sent shivers down Vreen's spine. "You know, I bet I could really get that processors humming with a deep clean. Just need to pop open the casing and—" "No," the entire bridge crew shouted in unison, causing Jack to jump back in surprise. Okay, touchy subject. I get it," Jack said, raising his hands in surrender. "How about I take a look at the crew quarters instead? I noticed some interesting growth patterns in the sleep pods that I think—" Vreen quickly interjected. "Perhaps, Jack, it would be best if you took a short break. Allow us to assess the impact of your work so far." Jack's face lit up. "A performance review already? Wow, you guys are efficient. I'll just go grab my checklist of completed tasks. Wait until you see what I did to the airlock seals. Squeaky clean." As Jack bounded off the bridge, Captain Zix slumped into his command chair, which squeaked in protest at the unfamiliar lack of friction. "Vreen, assemble a team immediately. We need to assess every system on this ship before our overzealous janitor does any more cleaning." For the next several hours, the crew of the Nebula Voyager scrambled to catalog the extent of Jack's nocturnal cleaning spree. Reports flooded in from every deck. The hydroponics bay, usually a lush green, now sparkled with an alarming sterility. The chief botanist reported that several rare alien plant species had gone into shock from the sudden absence of their carefully cultivated microbial environments. In the medical bay, the ship's doctor, a being composed entirely of symbiotic bacteria, was found huddled in a corner, muttering about genocide and crimes against microbes. The recreation deck's holoprojectors, scrubbed to a high sheen, now projected images so crisp and bright that several crew members reported headaches and mild hallucinations. Even the ship's exterior hadn't escaped Jack's attentions. Somehow, he had managed to deploy the maintenance drones to polish the hull to a mirror-like finish. While aesthetically pleasing, It played havoc with the ship's stealth capabilities, causing them to light up like a disco ball on every sensor within a parsec. As the reports continued to pour in, Captain Zix called an emergency meeting of his senior staff. They gathered in the conference room, each looking more frazzled than the last. "Status report," the captain demanded, his usual composure strained. Blob oozed forward, his gelatinous form quivering with distress. "The good news is the warp drive is still functional. The bad news is it's running at 150% efficiency. I'm afraid if we engage it, we might rip a hole in the space-time continuum." Vreen's scales had settled into a muted gray, a sign of deep concern. "Our navigation systems are, well, they're perfect. Too perfect. We're picking up stellar phenomena that we shouldn't be able to detect for another century of technological advancement. It's overwhelming our star charts." The ship's security chief, a silicon-based being named Crix, spoke up next. "The weapons systems are shiny. So shiny that they're reflecting our own targeting lasers back at us. We're in danger of shooting ourselves if we try to defend the ship." Captain Zix's antennae drooped with each new report. "And what of our guest? Where is Mr. Thompson now?" As if on cue, Jack's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Hey, folks. I hope you don't mind, but I noticed your universal translator was a bit fuzzy. Don't worry, though. I've given it a good clean, and now it's working better than ever. You might notice a few changes in how it interprets things, but I'm sure it's all for the BZZT. Better. SQUOBUC. Ribbit." The conference room erupted into chaos as each crew member suddenly found themselves speaking in a cacophony of Earth animal sounds. Captain Zix's dignified speech devolved into a series of loud, honking geese calls. In the midst of the pandemonium, Jack's cheerful voice cut through once more. "Oops, slight hiccup there. No worries, I'll have it fixed in a jiffy. Oh, and by the way, has anyone seen the quantum stabilizer? I could have sworn I left it next to the mop bucket." As the reality of their situation sank in, Captain Zix realized that their mission of interspecies cooperation had taken an unexpected turn. The pristine, overcleaned Nebula Voyager now faced a crisis unlike any they had encountered in the vastness of space. With a ship too clean to function properly, systems pushed beyond their limits, and a well-meaning but chaotic human janitor on the loose, the crew of the Nebula Voyager would need to find a way to restore balance, and quickly. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of their adventures with Jack Thompson, a human whose cleaning prowess would challenge their perceptions, test their adaptability, and ultimately teach them the true meaning of cooperation in the face of sparkling, lemon-scented adversity. Cosmic consequences. As the Nebula Voyager drifted through space, its hull gleaming like a cosmic disco ball, the crew frantically worked to undo the effects of Jack's overzealous cleaning spree. Captain Zix, still honking like a goose due to the malfunctioning universal translator, attempted to coordinate their efforts from the bridge. Jack, blissfully unaware of the chaos he had caused, continued his mission to sanitize every nook and cranny of the ship. His latest target, the alien waste recycling system, a complex network of bioorganic matter converters that efficiently processed and reused all waste produced on the ship. "Boy, oh boy," Jack exclaimed, peering into the main recycling chamber. "This place is a real mess. Don't worry, though. I've got just the thing to get it sparkling clean." Before anyone could stop him, Jack emptied an entire bottle of his super strength, all-purpose, guaranteed to dissolve anything cleaner into the system. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Alarms blared throughout the ship as the recycling system began to bubble and froth. Geysers of multicolored foam erupted from waste disposal units across all decks. The ship's corridors quickly filled with a rainbow of sweet-smelling bubbles, impeding movement and obscuring visibility. In the engine room, Blob struggled to maintain control of the warp drive, which was now hiccuping erratically, causing the ship to leap sporadically through space in short, unpredictable jumps. "Captain, Vreen shouted over the commotion, her voice now sounding like a chorus of mewing cats. The recycling system is overloading. If we don't contain it, the ship's entire eco-balance will be disrupted. Captain Zix honked urgently in response, gesturing wildly with his forearms. Despite the language barrier, his message was clear: find Jack and stop him before he could help any further. Meanwhile, Jack had moved on to the ship's central air filtration system. You know, he mused to himself, I bet these aliens have never experienced the refreshing scent of pine forests. Well, I'm about to change that. Just as he was about to introduce several gallons of pine-scented air freshener into the ventilation shafts, a foam-covered Vreen tackled him to the ground. Oof, Jack exclaimed, looking up at the bubble-drenched first officer. Hey there, I was just about to give the ship a wonderful new scent. You'll love it. Vreen's meows turned into a series of exasperated hisses and yowls. Though Jack couldn't understand her words, her meaning was unmistakable. Oh, Jack said, his enthusiasm deflating slightly. I guess you're not too happy with my cleaning, huh? Before Vreen could respond, the ship lurched violently, sending them both tumbling down the corridor in a wave of technicolor foam. They fetched up against a bulkhead, coming face to face with an equally drenched and dismayed Captain Zix. The captain's honks and gesticulations made it clear that the situation was dire. Jack's well-intentioned cleaning had pushed the ship's systems to their breaking point. The warp drive was misfiring, life support was struggling under the onslaught of cleaning products, and the navigation system was so overcleaned it was detecting possible futures instead of present locations. As the gravity of the situation finally dawned on Jack, his usual grin faded. I really messed up, didn't I? He said, looking from Vreen to Zix with genuine remorse. I just wanted to help, to show you all what I could do. I never meant to cause all this trouble. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, and a new alarm joined the cacophony. Blob's panicked voice echoed through the comm system, sounding like a terrified flock of parrots. The message was garbled, but one word came through clearly. Sit and jubal erati. Captain Zix's eyes widened in horror. Somehow, the combination of the malfunctioning warp drive and the overcleaned sensors had led them to the edge of a black hole. The ship, its systems compromised, was being inexorably pulled toward the event horizon. In that moment of crisis, as alarms blared and foam continued to pour from every opening, Jack Thompson, human janitor extraordinaire, had an epiphany. He realized that his human perspective, which had caused so much chaos, might just be the key to their salvation. Wait, he shouted, leaping to his feet. I have an idea. But I'm gonna need everyone's help, and you'll have to trust me. Captain Zix and Vreen exchanged glances. After all that had happened, could they really trust this chaotic human? But as the ship groaned under the gravitational forces threatening to tear it apart, they realized they had no choice. With a resigned honk and a meow, they nodded their agreement. Jack's face split into a wide grin. All right, here's what we're gonna do. What followed was the most unorthodox rescue operation in the history of space travel. Using a combination of cleaning supplies, alien technology, and pure human ingenuity, Jack led the crew in a frantic effort to save the ship. They repurposed the overflow from the recycling system, using the high-pressure foam to create a temporary barrier against the black hole's pull. Jack's ultra-slippery cleaning solution, when applied to the hull, allowed the ship to slide along the edge of the event horizon without being drawn in. In a stroke of brilliance, they used the oversensitive navigation system to plot a course through time itself, finding a safe path out of the black hole's influence. The malfunctioning warp drive, hiccuping erratically, provided the burst of speed they needed to escape. As the Nebula Voyager burst free from the black hole's grasp, the entire crew erupted in a chorus of cheers, honks, meows, and various other animal sounds. They were alive, against all odds, thanks to the very chaos that had nearly doomed them. In the aftermath, as systems slowly returned to normal, and the universal translator finally stopped turning speech into animal noises. Captain Zix called Jack to the bridge. "Mr. Thompson," the captain began, his voice grave, but with a hint of newfound respect. "Your actions nearly destroyed this ship and its crew." Jack hung his head, prepared for the worst. "However," Zix continued, "your quick thinking and unique problem-solving skills also saved us all. It seems that in our pursuit of perfect order, we had forgotten the value of adaptability." Jack looked up, hope dawning on his face. "We have much to learn from each other," Zix concluded. "If you're willing, we'd like you to stay on as a permanent member of the crew, not just as a janitor, but as our chief of innovative solutions." A slow smile spread across Jack's face. "You mean it? You really want me to stay?" Vreen stepped forward, her scales shimmering with amusement. "Indeed, Jack. Though perhaps we could come to an agreement about the appropriate use of cleaning products." Jack laughed, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. "Deal. And hey, maybe I could learn a thing or two about alien tech while I'm at it. I promise to ask before I clean anything from now on." As the crew of the Nebula Voyager welcomed their newest official member, the ship continued its journey through the stars. It was still the cleanest vessel in the galaxy, but now it carried something far more valuable, a new appreciation for the chaos and creativity that humans could bring to the cosmos. And so, the adventure of Jack Thompson, the human janitor turned chief of innovative solutions, and his alien crew was just beginning. Together, they would face the challenges of space with a unique blend of alien technology, human ingenuity, and just a touch of lemon-scented cleaner. The universe, it seemed, would never be the same, or quite as clean, again.